Thank you for welcoming me onto your screens, onto your headphones, depending on how you're watching this. I'm Eddie, and this is The Rollback. Folks, I'm going to talk to you today about The Nun 2, aka the Sister Act 2 Reckoning? Yeah, I guess that one works. So, the synopsis. Years after the original Nun film in 1956, Sister Irene is called upon to investigate a series of murders that have taken place throughout France. The evil that she thought she had once vanquished, lest we be known, Valak, has returned and is making a beeline for something. So the movie, there's one glaring plot hole in the whole film where it's essentially all about the MacGuffin or the eyes of a saint who is believed to have been the one who defeated Valak. Here's the thing. The film, I'm not sure if those eyes are supposed to give Valak its power or defeat Valak. I genuinely am not sure which way that shit's supposed to go. That's probably the most odd thing about this film. Now, that said though, the film overall it's definitely a step up from the first one. Oddly enough, the first Nun film has the highest grossing of any of the Conjuring films at like $362 million on a budget of only $22 million, but it was very much critically panned, and audiences didn't exactly love it. It was a little too simple. It was too contained. The whole thing took place strictly in a monastery, or in a nun-nistery? I don't know what the right word for that is. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter is that this film has a slightly larger budget, $38 million, but they make use of all of it, going to beautiful places throughout Europe, making use of beautiful scenery and different areas of the country, from scenic routes in the actual country itself, to beautiful old school buildings, to vintage architecture. It's a beautifully shot film. Genuinely, a lot of the shots are gorgeous. But more than any of that is a story that's in place. It's not just jump scares ahoy, although there are plenty of jump scares. It feels like a lot of the scares are also smart, if that makes sense. Like, you see it coming, but they find new and inventive ways. For example, that money shot that's in the trailer for some reason, the magazine stand, which I think might be the best shot in the whole film, at least according to Chemai, it might be. That scene, awesome. The fact that they're able to defeat the demon with the blood of Christ when they turn the wine into the blood of Christ, brilliant. Because they don't have the vial of Jesus' blood from the original, the old thing. Anyway, that said, what else improves this film is more or less the story. In the first one, it was pretty much just walk, explore, and deal with monsters. Whereas in this one, we have a twin story that kind of comes to a head at the third act, where on one side we have Maurice, or Frenchie, dealing with being possessed as Valak is searching for that old artifact that could either destroy or give it full power. On the other side, we have Sister Irene from the original Nun, who is tasked with hunting this demon who, as it turns out, is the long descendant of a saint, whose mother was unfortunately thrown into a saint asylum, which is, that's actually really sad. But nonetheless, this film, it gets inventive with the scares, it gets inventive with the characters, and also, unlike Annabelle Comes Home, it's not bogged down by the idea that it wants to give ideas for sequels or produce ideas for sequels. Like how in The Conjuring 2 we had The Crooked Man and The Nun, which I want a Crooked Man film, I'm just saying. But The Nun kind of came from The Conjuring and became its own thing. How Annabelle was in the first Conjuring and became its own thing. In that same aspect, this movie isn't bogged down by trying to give ideas or create ideas for sequels. It's more or less concentrating on its own story, which to me is a good thing. Well acted, well paced, great scares, everything I look for in a horror film. Overall, just a solid improvement from the first. Would I watch it again? Hell yeah. I make a point of rewatching The Conjuring at least once a year, and I think this film might actually make it into the repetition. But that's it. What did you think of The Nun 2? Go ahead and comment down below. We'd greatly appreciate it. You can also check out our podcast via the link below. We already did a review of The Nun 2. And yeah, catch y'all later. See everybody.